professional astrologer joining me on stage, Randy Goldberg, for the world's most interesting man conversation. Please, a round of applause.
I'm an astrologer, not an astronomer.
I was very clear.
I'm an astrologer.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
I also have your business card. Very helpful. So I'm going to ask you some questions. That's how this is going to go. You've agreed to be here.
Yeah.
You've appeared on such amateur syndications as CNN, NPR, and the Washington Post.
That's right.
Yeah. So you've seen every competitive blogger out there. Let's get started. The first question, you are a professional astrologer.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What would it mean if I sat down with you for a session?
Well, so we'd be looking at your astrological chart, which is like if you took a camera at the time you were born.
Ooh.
And it has, you'd be looking at where the planets are at that time.
Okay.
And looking at the different archetypes that are associated with those planets and seeing how those archetypes flow in your mind, what the psychic resonance is at in your life, and looking what myths, all these have stories and myths with them. And a reading is a conversation. There's nothing to believe. It's about entertaining different possibilities. So it's mining what meaning you can find, and all these archetypal stories have been told all through the history of humanity. They resonate with people, and there's a reason that those stories keep being told, and there's certain lessons to be learned and certain wisdom to be mined from that.
This is true. You were telling me more than 1 billion people in India rely on this for such things as who they're going to marry.
Yeah, and sometimes they haven't met the person even, but they wouldn't dream of marrying them without having an astrologer look at the chart. And so it's technology that we totally poo-poo. It's like, well, that's insane. And there's other parts of the world. I mean, some of this other perspective we've been seeing, let's take some other cultures, Before Europeans came here, there was Native American culture. Oh, let's throw all that in the toilet. It's meaningless, worthless. I mean, bullshit. There's so much value in all the cultures and all the civilizations that are out there. And now there's a whole renaissance and resurrection, and a lot of this stuff has been put down by the church, put down by science, put down in different things, and now there's this growing hunger that people want to explore deeper meanings. And
I take my prospective partners to H&R Block and have them talk to Charles Armstrong. That's what I do, but you keep me posted.
Okay.
We're going to talk after this. How did you get into astrology? It's an interesting story.
Well,
You were saying you were in high school.
My parents got divorced. My father was a psychologist who was having an affair with a student from the sexuality class.
From the sexuality
It's actually
class.
true, so classic it actually got made into a movie. My sister's a scriptwriter and director, and she made a movie with Linda Hamilton and
What is the name
it's
of
called
it?
Secret Life of Girls, and it's all very biographical about
Your life.
Well,
Your
my parents divorced and stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, my father was wise. He's this behavioral scientist and psychologist and stuff, and it just made me start thinking, what's wisdom? And I started reading different books, particularly a lot of philosophy. And as soon as I read Eastern philosophy, it was like, the Western stuff was so dry, and I just got more and more into it. Started doing Tai Chi, yoga, exploring. Eventually, ended up going to India.
We're going to talk about that next. What brings you? He gets into Tai Chi. You get very into yoga. That takes you to India, where you become a monk. Could you please explain to the audience how you become a monk in India?
Well, I was just always getting more involved with a particular teacher in yoga and meditation system. And yoga is a lot more, again, in the West, people think yoga is going to the gym and doing exercise and stuff. Yoga is
Stretching. Yeah, that's
ancient system of knowing yourself. And then in the East, there's a lot of inner technologies. Just as in the West, we've kind of focused on exterior technologies. In the West, they've explored the inner depths.
We like mirrors more, I've noticed. It's like
Candles.
Yeah.
So, and I was living at the center in ashram and studying and learning that ancient system.
That takes you to Sweden, where you're doing what?
I was in a monastery. It was a 2-year training program for learning to be a meditation teacher. And this huge philosophy and different learning that's involved with that.
Okay, but just to be clear for the record, the camera's recording this, you were a Swedish monk.
With tofu meatballs.
Can I take just a second to do something personal? Can I? Oh, fuck everyone! We got a monk in this goddamn show! Woo!
Former monk.
Encyclopedia Show. Quiet, Randy. Encyclopedia Show DC! The world's premier variety show for monks. Let's get back to you.
No problem.
You were interviewed by CNN, NPR, several other news outlets. Tell us why, well, the Washington Post, why did they find you, why did they seek you out?
Originally I was interviewed by the Washington Post, and it was right before, it was in 2008, before the market crashed. And they were doing a story about the eclipse, and there was a reporter that knew, apparently was tuned in, and she called a couple astrologers. And
How tuned in? What do you mean by tuned in? She was feeling it? She felt like the universe was taking her a direction?
There was talk on the street, I guess.
Talk on the street.
It was just a few months before the whole bubble burst, and so I was interviewed for that. Afterwards, I got interviewed for CNN after the economy crashed, and it was like, you know, it's really hard finding jobs out there. One of the good jobs these days that's actually going up is being an astrologer. So
You would have been like, I arrived! Fuck everyone! I'm about to hear Rich! Did you hear that? CNN called me, but what happened?
And then I got interviewed by NPR. They called me up on a lark. It was actually their business show. And it was just right before the Supreme Court was giving its verdict on the healthcare bill. So they said, nobody knows how the Supreme Court's going to turn out, so we'll just go to some unusual sources. They called me, I told them it would all pass, and it did. And
You also predicted the count accurately.
yeah.
Yeah? Woo! Okay, Randy Goldberg, professional astrologer. Do we have some questions from the audience? This is the fun part about our show. We're going to open it up a little bit. Kevin's interview series with Randy. Any questions for professional astrologers?
Do you believe the age of Aquarius has already begun?
Do we believe the age of Aquarius has already begun is the question.
That's a really great question.
Is it? I'm asking. I don't know. Okay.
One joke that us astrologers will tell is that the astrologers have been cursed, and no two astrologers agree on anything. So there's a huge fight over this, and who the heck knows? But the whole idea of the age of Aquarius is that we're moving in general from the Pisces age, which is the age of belief, of blind belief and a more kind of religious age. And now we're moving into the age of knowledge. And it's going to be a lot more awakened, empowered kind of place.
Be honest. How do you feel about like my next 2 weeks? Do you have like a gut feeling? Are you like, I'm seeing things for you, Kevin?
Well, I see in the back there's actually an agent, so I think you're doing good.
Oh, now we're talking. That would be fantastic. Randy, where can people find you? They have contact information if they wanted to book a session.
AstroDC.com is my website.
AstroDC.com. Perfect. You get this type of convenient and introspective service. Randy, we want to thank you tremendously from the Encyclopedia Show for stopping by. Professional monk, Randy Goldberg.